beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful people. I thought we'd do my July reading wrap up. I read 12 books in July and I'm super excited to share my thoughts on them. I feel like this month was really all over the place. I was reading so many different things this month. So grab a cup of tea, cup of coffee, matcha, whatever floats your boat, get yourself a little snack, get cozy, get a blanket, get a cat. And I'm gonna talk about every single book that I read last month. So I started off July by finishing Cursed Fates, which is the 5th book in the Zodiac Academy series. I am rereading this series. I read the whole thing last year. I think I did it all in 1 month, which is crazy. I remember being addicted to this series. I read like The Shadow Princess in 1 day. I was poorly for like 3 of the days, so I remember rotting in bed being so ill and just devouring like the first 3 books of Zodiac Academy. But I thought I'd reread it this year. I've had a couple of reading slumps this year and I just felt compelled to do a Zodiac Academy reread. So I've been throwing a book in here and there and just kind of listening to it or reading it. A lot of it I have done on Audible because I have the audiobooks from last time, so when I've been cleaning or going for a walk or something, I've been listening to that. So I obviously gave this 5 stars. This is the most traumatic book series for me. I feel so attached to these characters that when anything bad happens to them or anything of inconvenience, it feels like a knife in my chest. Screaming, crying, throwing up. Terrible. Lionel Acrux is quite literally the villain of all villains. Like, when I think of a book villain, I think of Lionel Acrux. I've only got 2 highlights in this book. I'm sure there's a lot more, but I just forget. Because I was Darius Acrux, the most important man in the fucking room. I just can't. I can't with him. I actually can't with him. I am a Darius Acrux girly, but when I've been rereading this, I'm just Lance Orion. This man, no, I can't say it without spoiling it. I can't say it without spoiling it, so I'm not gonna say it. As soon as I finished that, I went straight on to City of Ruin, which is the 2nd book in the Witchwalker series. I gave this 4 stars. Can't even remember what the ending of this was, but apparently I really loved it. OMFG. I did not see that ending coming, not in a million years. This plot just got turned up full volume. I felt like I had to really concentrate throughout this book, lots of new characters and a lot of stuff to remember, but the plot is just too good. I still don't believe in Alexis and Raina's connection. I don't know, I think it's because Alexis really gives me the ick. People who are hot in this book: Neri, Prince of the East, Colden. I'm absolutely eating up every single Nefal and Neri crumb I can get. Yes, this is one thing I will say about this 2nd book. Neri and Nefal, I need a whole separate book on them, and I think that's what The Wolf and the Witch is about, which is the 3rd book, but I don't want to read that until Kingdom of the Forgotten comes out, because I want to kind of read those together so that I have a good flow into that 4th book, which is why I've not read it straight after the City of Ruin. But yeah, I just, with Alexis and Raina's connection, I just don't believe them. And I genuinely do think it's because Alexis really does give me the ick. The whole of book 1, he was either injured, captured, he never like, I don't know, like he was meant to be this big, powerful witch collector and he just never. Neri, great. Prince of the East. Prince of the East. As soon as this man was mentioned in book 1, I was like, thought that the Prince of the East might have been a love interest. Obviously not, he is the villain. But I thought that that would be such a good idea if he was a love interest, because I really like the Prince of the East and I really like Colden as well. I'm trying not to spoil anything. But yeah, I love the Witchwalker series. The 1st book was really, really good and I gave 4 stars to this, so I thought it was great. The 3rd book I read in July was book 1 of the Off Campus series, which was The Deal. I gave this 4 stars. I have never read a hockey romance. I've never read a sports romance. And this was really good. My sister recommended this to me. She was reading it on holiday while she was reading the series and she was like, look, I read the whole of ACOTAR for you. Can you please read these books for me now? And I said, sure babes, you don't have to tell me twice. So yeah, what I wrote for this one is sensational, such an easy read. Am I officially in my hockey romance era? Probably. I actually loved Hannah and Garrett, giggling and kicking my feet, just having a really good time. Which I feel like this series is so good for. It's a giggling and kicking your feet. It's so easy to read. The books are really short, the chapters aren't too long, and you just have a good time. That's it. And then A Vow of Embers got released, which is the second book in the Eye of the Goddess series. That came out on the 8th of July, so I desperately needed to read this before I carried on the Off Campus series, which is not like me. Usually I like to finish a series and then move on, but ever since I read A Tribute of Fire, I have been dying to read this second book. The magic system and the world is so different. In the first book, our main character Leah, she is a princess from another land, and her and her sister get put into this trial in another kingdom to basically try and save their kingdom. They need to get the Eye of the Goddess to kind of like restore their land so their land can go back to being like fruitful and things like that. And she goes and wins this trial. She gets into this temple and she's living in this temple to serve the goddess. I won't say any more than that because I don't want to spoil it, because this book is genuinely, it's so unique, and she's living in this temple, and it's nice to see a point of view because I feel like in a lot of fantasy romances you do hear about the priestesses and the high priestesses, but we never actually see much into their world because it is from her perspective living in the temple. Something huge happens at the end of the first book, and this is following on from that. I loved this book so much more than the first book. I will say that the MMC and the FMC kind of frustrated me a little bit throughout this book, but I love the story so much that I'm willing to forgive it. This is the review that I gave, 5 effing stars. What an absolute wild ride. I feel like I was very emotional when I wrote this. The way this book has consumed my entire life for the last 24 hours is not healthy. Where do I start? The last 20% of this book took so many twists and turns that I physically could not take my eyes off the pages. Leah and Xander need to sort out their problems ASAP because I cannot take it anymore. No, seriously, like, they really need to sort it out, and I do hope they sort it out in the third book because I do like them and I do like their story. Literally did consume my entire life. Absolutely. I've seen some quite negative reviews for this second book, but I genuinely really loved it. Like, I genuinely thought it was 5 stars. Like, really enjoyed it. After A Vow of Embers, we read Heavenly Bodies. This book is giving true romantasy. It is romantasy at its core. It is everything that embodies a fantasy romance. The last 10% of this book, I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and cried and cried and cried. When I think about this book, I am genuinely not well. I actually might stop crying now. Oh my god, I need to. So it basically follows our FMC Alara, who is captured by a neighbouring kingdom, and she's taken to the king, and the king wants to use her as a weapon because he wants to kill a star, because the stars have been ruling all the lands. Now the king has a son, he's going to train her, and that's all I'm going to say. But my review, I wrote, this book ripped my heart out of my chest, stood on it and set fire to it. Which is absolutely true. The last 10% had me in tears and I got whiplash from the plot twist, which is true. There is so many plot twists at the end that you're just like, what is going on, but in a good way. So good. I loved our FMC Alara. Coming into all her power was amazing to witness. Can't wait for the next book. I will not sleep at night until then. Ariette was such a good villain, but smash. Can't wait for the next book just for him alone. Yeah, literally. I thought he was going to be a love interest. He's not, he's just a villain. And I don't know what's wrong with me. Why am I assuming that all the villains are the love interests? But yeah, I gave this 4 stars. It was absolutely incredible, so good. After Heavenly Bodies, I read Silver Elite, which is massive on BookTok. Everybody's reading it. I gave into the hype. I really wanted to read this. Everybody was saying it was so good. And honestly, very different to what I usually read. I was so consumed by it. Like, I just wanted to read this book. I wanted the whole world to leave me alone so I could read this book. And I genuinely did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. I put absolutely binged this. So different to anything I've read recently. I felt so attached to the FMC, but I just wanted a bit more shock factor from the ending, which I still stand by. I do wish there was a bit more from the ending. I wanted to be shocked. I wanted to be a twist. I wanted to be just something. I will read the next book because I'm dying to know what happens next. And it took me less than 24 hours to read this because I was so sucked in to the story. Then I read Zodiac Academy number 6, Fated Throne. Again, 5 stars. I can't give the first 6 or 7 books in Zodiac Academy, anything less than 5 stars. It's just one of my favourite series, and the way it just makes you feel is just terrifying, to be honest. My original review for this is I've got no words, Geraldine is the best character, how is Lionel still alive, FML, Darius is sobbing, Airs and twins working together, cry, I love it, scared for the next book, terrified even. And then my reread review is no notes, forgot how traumatic the last 10% of this book was, tears streaming down my face, eating up every Max and Geraldine crumb. I love Geraldine and Max so much more during this reread. When I first read this series, I did like them, but this second reread, I love every single thing about them. The way she speaks just has me laughing my head off. She's so funny, and the way that he has no idea what she's saying half the time just makes me chuckle so bad. And then I kind of got to a point where I was like, oh well, I've done a lot of fantasy, let me pick up the Off Campus series again. So I read book 2, which is The Mistake. This was about Grace and Logan. I liked this better than the first one. My review was just fun. Never did I ever think I would be in my hockey romance era. Easy to read, follow along with, turn your brain off giggling and kicking my feet. The end of the first book kind of leads on to Logan's book, but it made me not want to read Logan's book. That's why I put it off for so long, I think, but I actually did really end up enjoying it. I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, just a good time. Hockey romance, can't go wrong. Then I listened to Pen Pal on BookBeat. This was pleasantly surprising. Okay, I gave this 3 stars. If you're a lover of Gone Girl, Silent Patient, but want that kind of vibe intertwined with dark romance with paranormal themes, this is for you. Honestly, the plot was so good, it genuinely didn't need as much spice as it had. Got a little slower around the middle, but the twist at the end was so good. Wait forever if I have to, Broken Heart, spooky vibes, and honestly you have to audiobook this. Double narration and the voice actors are so good. Yeah, I will say if you're going to read this, do the audiobook. It is actually really good. I really enjoyed listening to this. Around the middle I was like, oh, another spicy. Like, it genuinely doesn't need it because the plot was so good. Like, it didn't need as much spice as it did, and I think that's kind of what let it down a little bit. I did enjoy the ending, like it was really good. Quite predictable, but I did enjoy this. It was a fun time, I'd recommend it. If you're thinking, oh, I just need something to listen to, go for this. And if you like spooky vibes, paranormal, dark romance, get on this, it's really good. Then I went back to the Off Campus series again and read The Score. This was my favourite from the series, Dean and Ali. I love them so much. Those 2 are my favourite out of all the books. I haven't read the 4th book yet, but them 2 are I just put, ugh. Devoured in one sitting. Dean and Ali are my favourites from this series, no notes. Yeah, I literally read that in one sitting. I think it took me like 3 or 4 hours. I think I started this at like 7 p.m. and then I finished it at about 11 o'clock midnight, and then I just went to sleep. Like, I just devoured it in one night. And then after that I read Echo Fort, which is the 2nd book in the Sins of the Zodiac series, Neverkeeper's book number 1. I have so many theories about this book, but I don't want to say some of them in case nobody's read it and I don't want to spoil it. But I gave this 4 stars. I loved this. I wish we had more Vesper and Bastian content in this. Every single time it was a Vesper chapter, I was like I love her so much. I have so many theories. Ugh, I could just read a whole book on Vesper and Bastian alone. 600 pages, ideally, give it to me. Honestly, my heart is broken from all the twists in the last 10% in true Twisted Sister style. I absolutely can't wait for the next book. Yeah, I really can't wait for the next book. I feel like Zodiac Academy is a lot simpler to follow. I feel like with this I do have to concentrate a little bit more, which is absolutely fine by me, by the way. This part really got me. This is like 94% into the book. I think we would have been something in another life. Friends, maybe. When I read that quote, the tears that were streaming down my face were just unstoppable. I literally had like 2 days left of the month and I thought, let me just read some Penelope Douglas for the last 2 days of July, and I read Birthday Girl. And I gave this 4 stars, and the only thing I've wrote in my review is Pike Lawson, no notes. And if you've read Birthday Girl, I think you would agree on that. I actually really enjoyed that book. I was hooked into it. It's super easy to read. I do feel like the characters were a little bit immature at points. The good times made up for that. And yeah, those are all the 12 books that I read in July. So I wish I was better at reviews and describing books, but I'm just not. I'm just like, yeah, no notes, good time, turn your brain off. But that's just me. And if you want to know what we're reading in August, obviously go and check out my TBR Chooses My August Reads video. I hope we have an amazing month in August. I do think I will probably end up reading a little bit more this month because last month I went on holiday and I didn't read that many pages while I was on holiday. I do have a 1.5-year-old son, so when we were on holiday I didn't read much. But this month I'm not going anywhere. The rain is pouring and I will be sat in this chair reading my little books. But yeah, that's everything that I read in July. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love sharing my books with you and I love sharing this space with you, and thank you so much for being here. I love you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.